Now the latest from ITV News Central in the Midlands.
Hello and welcome to the programme. Tonight's top stories. Police promise more arrests as they investigate reports of child sex exploitation in Coventry.
Want a job at Jaguar Land Rover? The Academy helping to fast-track car industry talent.
Customers are extremely demanding of quality, whether it be body quality or the final vehicle assembly. Our people need to be very skilled.
It's the 20th anniversary of the National Lottery and I'm here with some of our region's winners. And I found some snow. Find out where and why in a few minutes' time.
Good evening. A mother who fled from Syria after her husband was murdered is pleading with the British government to reunite her with her children.
Well, she's now safe in Stoke-on-Trent with her daughter and is being supported by a refugee group run by a local church. However, 4 of her children are stranded more than 1,500 miles away in Bulgaria after she says she was conned by a trafficker. Hannah Stokes reports.
Dilan is a woman carrying a constant burden. She's safe at this drop-in for refugees and asylum seekers in Stoke-on-Trent, but her mind is hundreds of miles away. She says she fled from Syria with her 5 children when her husband was murdered and his body dumped outside their front door.
She said her husband used to work in the border between Syria and Iraq, and one day the army take him. After 5 days, when they bring him back, they bring him a body. He was not in life. She don't know why they kill him and what he done wrong. She's scared if she asks, they will do the same for her, and she can't live 5 children alone without father and mother.
The family walked across the border into Turkey before being smuggled by boat at night into Bulgaria to reach an overcrowded and ill-equipped refugee camp. Dilan paid a trafficker to bring them all to England, but he tricked her, and just she and 1 child made it. She's so scared of him she doesn't want us to use her real name or to show her face.
It wasn't the words so much that Dylan spoke that touched me. It was just the look on her face. It was the anguish to see a mother sitting opposite me whose children were alone in Bulgaria, who had got no support, and she was so desperately worried about them.
Reverend Sally Smith runs the drop-in centre in Shelton. After hearing her story, she flew to Bulgaria. A charity worker from Stoke-on-Trent who's living in the country has taken in all 4 children. Today they're speaking over the internet.
The rewards are getting to know them, being able to love them and to share my life with them.
But she has just one wish.
Oh, that they would be reunited with their mother and their sister. That they would be able to go to England. Their English is absolutely spectacular. They've worked so hard.
It's a long way from Syria to Stoke-on-Trent, and Dilan could never have imagined that life would bring her here. All she wants now, though, is for the rest of her family to join her.
She feels sad most of the time. She said there's no happiness in life without children.
The Home Office says if a person has claimed asylum in another country and been successful, they cannot expect to be granted asylum in the UK. Asylum is about providing protection for someone who is at real risk of persecution or serious harm, not about allowing people to migrate to a country in which they would prefer to live. The Refugee Council is currently advising that no one should be repatriated to Bulgaria because of the state of the country's refugee camps and lack of social support.
Nobody help like they help here in Stoke. They help so much and take care for everything.
But the kindness of strangers can't compare with family ties. Hannah Stokes, ITV News.
In other news, a man's been arrested and bailed after a school bus crashed in Hereford. More than 20 people were taken to hospital after the coach overturned down an embankment on Monday. Police identified a vehicle that may have been travelling in the opposite direction on Home Lacey Road. They arrested a 28-year-old man from Redditch on suspicion of causing injury by dangerous driving.
Thieves who burgled a cash point in Leicestershire using a digger to extract it from the front of a shop left the vehicle at the scene before fleeing with the loot. It's one of a series of recent raids on ATMs in the area. The latest incident took place at the cooperative food shop in Sapcote at 1:15 this morning. Once the ATM was prized out, it was placed in the back of a Toyota Hilux and driven away.
£2,500 has been promised to support retired police dogs in Staffordshire. Police dogs often retire early after receiving injuries at work, but there's currently no money set aside to help their adopters with vets bills. The Police and Crime Commissioner has pledged the money to the county's Retired Police Dog Fund.
The growing car industry in the Midlands is helping people who haven't had a job in years get back to work. Many are unused to the quality control standards now demanded by firms like Jaguar Land Rover.
Well, one of its suppliers has set up an academy to drill the message home to job hunters that working in a factory isn't as easy as it looks. Mark Goff reports.
Amran Mahmood lost his job when Dunlop closed. Desmond Musakiwa hasn't been in regular work for 2 years. Like all these other men, they're desperate for a job. They're at a special academy to help long-term unemployed. It's run by Certec. They have 3 factories making parts for Jaguar Land Rover. Certec staff will assess the candidates in a week. If they get through that, they'll get a 5-week trial in a factory. If they get through that, they get a job. This academy is showing them that in the car industry of today, workers can't be average. They have to be excellent because the car makers and their customers want the highest standards of workmanship.
The quality standards now have to be world class, and some of these people have been unemployed for quite a long time, so we have to improve that their understanding of what quality means to the business. So we're getting to understand our systems, so like when they come into the business, they fully understand what they need to do.
Amran remembers too well when he lost his job at Dunlop.
Oh, horrible. Obviously, you have to change everything, you know, the way you live. I got kids and everything, so obviously I support them, so just hard, you know, struggling.
I've been in and out of work, nothing really definite, for nearly 2 years. And so I came on this program because I was so desperate to get into work. And it's really helped me going through the training and everything.
It's been very helpful. So I learnt quite a few things from here. So when I went there, I knew everything what was happening.
This firm needs so many staff. The academy is running full time.
We are holding these academies every single week, and that's the rate of growth we've got. We are currently at 1,200 people, and we feel looking at 200 or 300 people over the next 12 to 18 months.
Not long ago, Desmond was told he was being kept on.
Well, it felt wonderful, you know, because it's something that I've really been waiting for a long time, because it's hard to get a job out there, but so I was really chuffed.
And all these other men hope to follow Desmond. Mark Goff, ITV News, Birmingham.
Well, our business correspondent Mark Goff joins us now. So, Mark, why are there such different requirements for jobs in the car industry?
Well, the way it was described to me was, you remember the bad old days in the car industry when the boot didn't close properly and the door didn't fit properly when you picked it up from the dealer and you could see daylight between the car frame and the window frame. So that's now gone. I mean, I'm not obviously besmirching the car industry as a whole, of course, several decades ago.
But it's why a lot of people started buying German cars rather than buying our cars.
Exactly. The quality was a real issue and the Germans got it right. We're now getting it right, and that's what's kind of being drilled into new workers now. As they said in my report there, some of these people have been out of work for 2, perhaps 3 years. The quality has changed in just that short time, so that's why it's kind of really being rammed home to them.
Now, it's good news on the jobs front, and of course, if you think about it, a few years ago we wouldn't have realised or even been able to see this booming of the industry that we have today.
Yeah, it's amazing. Some job figures out today. There are now 98,000 people claiming benefits in the West Midlands. Sounds like a lot. That's actually 2,000 less than last month. So the government's pretty pleased about the drop there. Interestingly, more women in work as well. But yeah, who'd have predicted that the car industry and engineering would come back in the way it has? But the big problem, as ever, and all the businesses I talk to, is it's skills. They can't get enough skilled people. So when they do, they really, really want to hang on to them. If they've got existing staff, what they do is they really skill them up and train them. The bad side of that is that there are some little smaller engineering firms kicking around, and they're losing their workers to all the big boys because they're hoovering up all these engineers. But, we have to celebrate that, really. Burgeoning car industry, burgeoning engineering sector, a lot more people in work, a lot more people getting skilled up, and really it can only be great for, the growth of the Midlands economy.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much indeed. Right, next tonight, cancer surgeons in the UK are starting to use a new technique for treating women with breast cancer. It makes surgery faster and less stressful.
The pioneering method has been brought here from America, as Francis Reid reports.
2 months ago, Christina was diagnosed with breast cancer. She's the first woman in the UK to benefit from a new technique which makes surgery safer, quicker and more accurate.
The C word is stressful, isn't it? And especially I've got 2 young children. So when you are offered something that will reduce any kind of stress and that it's quick, there's only a limited amount of places in the whole world that do this. But hopefully, as I say, because it's better for the patient, it's less stressful, cosmetically it's better, which is quite important. It is pioneering.
And this is how it works. Normally on the day of surgery, a wire is inserted next to the cancer to show surgeons where to operate. But this new technique can be done weeks before. A radioactive seed is injected near the cancer, which the surgeons can later detect. Women can go straight in for their operation quickly without the need for an invasive wire. The technique isn't just better for patients, but doctors too, and it means surgeons can operate faster.
Here we can see the difference between the previous technique we used with a long wire going through the skin and localizing a breast cancer here. The new technique uses a tiny seed just there. I'm very pleased that we've been the first in the UK to bring this technique in. It's been performed in America and in the Netherlands. This is for ladies with small cancers which we can't feel, and there's no other way of finding them at the time of surgery. We may be more likely to remove the cancer with nice clear margins, and this may reduce the need for them to go back for any further surgery to the breast.
As well as reducing time in the operating theatre, it'll help hundreds of women every year. Francis Reid, ITV News.
You are watching ITV News Central. Now, still to come on the programme. 20 years, can you believe it? 20 years of lottery luck for some. Yes, jackpot joy for this lot. Find out what they've been splashing their big money cash on over the years.
Look at all that champagne. Plus, snow in November. Where and why Lucy's bearing the brunt of the seasonal weather. So, plenty still to come, but let's get some sports news now. And it might not have the profile of other sports, but wheelchair basketball is growing in popularity. It's one of the few sports where able-bodied athletes can compete alongside wheelchair users.
However, it's not cheap and many teams are in danger of running out of money. Gareth Owen has been to see the Warwickshire Bears in training.
Fast, furious, just a little terrifying at times. This is wheelchair basketball. We're used to seeing it on our screens every 4 years in the Paralympics, but there are thriving teams here in the Midlands, teams like the Warwickshire Bears, and they've recently recruited a Paralympic skier, Anna Turney.
The speed, the excitement, the adrenaline, it's got the kind of intensity of something like squash or rugby. And also I love the fact it's a team sport, you can play with other people. The guys are great. Every time I come home from a training session, I'm really buzzing. They're so encouraging, although I'm quite new to it.
But it is expensive. When they're not playing or training, the Warwickshire Bears are often fundraising. Each one of these specialist chairs costs £3,000.
it all adds up. So we're really struggling just to keep the club afloat. But you can see, like, we've got loads of people interested. We're really trying to encourage more young people to play.
It's one of the few team sports where wheelchair users can compete with non-wheelchair users in the same game. Anyone can play, and the coach is on a recruitment drive.
Well, the biggest misconception that people first have is that you have to be a wheelchair user to play, which is totally wrong. You know, you can have an injury, a sporting injury, that stops you from playing an able-bodied sport. You know, you can come to the club, play wheelchair basketball, you can even get classified, which makes you eligible to even play international. Also, you're allowed to play if you're able-bodied as well, so, you know, there's no holding people up.
It doesn't have the funding or the media coverage of other team sports, but wheelchair basketball is growing and attracting new sponsors. And come Rio 2016, Anna might not be the only Paralympian in this team. Gareth Owen, ITV News, Henley in Arden.
There's a surprisingly large number of bears in Warwickshire, isn't there?
There is. The cricketers.
The cricketers.
Now the wheelchair basketballers.
And I've been to see wheelchair basketball, and it's fast and furious. Have you ever seen it? I mean,
it always looks quite violent.
I don't know how people don't end up with a lot of broken bones doing it, because
No.
the impact when they crash into each other, it's frightening. I don't think you get me.
It's nice that it's such an inclusive sport, though, isn't it? Because they were saying you don't have to be disabled.
You don't have to be disabled.
You can be able-bodied.
Which is great, because it balances everything out, doesn't it? Yeah, a good sport. I hope it gets a bit more support.
You never know. The national and international news is just a few moments away. Let's take a look at what's coming up. And with the details, here's Alistair Stewart.
Nail-biting science in deep space. The probe Philae has landed. Celebrations as the tiny probe made it to the comet Rosetta, 300 million miles away, in search of clues as to how our solar system was formed. We've the latest pictures. On Earth, your money should finally go further as the rise in earnings outstrips the rise in prices for the first time in 5 years. And excerpts from the first TV interview with the man who says he killed bin Laden and thought he was going to die himself. Join Mary Nightingale and me at 6:30.
Now, music students from Birmingham have joined others from across the country and are taking over the Royal Albert Hall in London for the first part of this week as part of the school Proms.
Yes, the three performances not only show off the best in music talent in our schools, but the variety of styles being learnt. David Wood reports.
It's the traditional sound of the Proms, but with a younger twist, as hundreds of musicians swap their school stage for one of the world's best. And opening the second half, a fanfare from Birmingham.
Incredible experience. It's my first time here in such a renowned venue that's globally famous.
It's quite exciting because I've seen concerts here before. I've been to Proms and stuff like that, but I've never actually played here. And we're up in the gallery, we're not actually on the stage, so we can sort of see everything that's going on. And it's really good. It's quite a good acoustic as well.
From big bands playing classical music to smaller groups adding their own slant to folk music, the show is all about the range of styles being studied. In total, 1,000 musicians are taking to the stage tonight, and the groups who are performing have been chosen from hundreds across the country, because not only are they the best, but they represent the variety of talents on offer in our schools today. The evening is one of 3 proms at the Royal Albert Hall, organised by the charity Music for Youth. And those behind the show say it's important for young musicians to have the opportunity to perform in the country's best known venues.
We do events all around the country all through the year, but then this is about giving people something really to strive for, and it is a very special venue, and I think people get a real buzz when they perform at the Albert Hall. So it's quite important to give them something that really makes them feel like they've really got a sense of achievement and a real specialness about their performance.
And alongside the more traditional performances, there's room for something a little more modern. For those in the hall, a night no one will forget. But now it's back to the practice room to try and qualify for next year's performance. David Wood, ITV News.
They said there was variety. They weren't joking,
and
were they?
Quality.
Oh, yes.
I'm watching that. You forget you're not watching professionals. You know, to me,
No,
it's like
exactly.
really
School children.
great stuff. Well done. What an atmosphere as well. I bet to play in that incredible building.
Lovely.
Now, something else that's quite incredible for a few people. National lottery winners, right from across the Midlands, toasted the 20th anniversary of the launch of the lottery. It was the first ever get-together of winners with a combined worth of £100 million.
Yes, we weren't amongst them, sadly. However,
we wouldn't be here if we had been.
No. Well, you never know.
You never know.
Lady Luck, yeah. No, we wouldn't. Anyway, Lady Luck has struck many times here in the West Midlands over the last 2 decades, and Jane Hesketh went to mingle with the millionaires.
They didn't need to lure the millionaires here with free champagne. They came to celebrate 20 years of the National Lottery. They've all won life-changing sums of money and can still remember what it felt like to have the winning numbers.
And as soon as they told us we'd won, the teletext flicked over saying one winning ticket had won £15,528,296. We were absolutely gobsmacked.
Well, when I was told by Camelot, I cried, and then Marie cried as well. So
we cried a lot, really.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Because you can't believe it could happen to ordinary people. You just think it would never happen to us. Like, when it does, you just, disbelief all the time, isn't it, Paul? For months, really.
So they've paid off the mortgage, bought the luxury car and booked the cruise. But what was their biggest extravagance?
Jewellery. Of course, a woman's prerogative, isn't it? You know, jewellery. I just can't resist it. It's been very nice to be able to go out and just buy what I want. Yeah, beautiful.
Probably Paul bought me a designer bag for Christmas, which I thought was wow. My extravagant really was probably the Rolex. It was the most expensive, because it's beautiful, you know.
Becoming a winner prompts people into all sorts of behaviours. Half of all winners move house within 3 months. A third of them buy a hot tub. A quarter install electric gates at home. Winning tickets have been hidden in socks, biscuit tins and freezers. And the longest celebration was by a syndicate who partied for 2 weeks. One thing is certain, here in the Midlands, our cup does runneth over with winners.
The Midlands itself has just seen so many lucky winners. I think it seems to be getting luckier. In the last 2 or 3 years, we seem to be getting more and more winners. In fact, we've actually now got more winners advisors that help us out in this area to try and compensate for that. But yeah, it's definitely been a bit of a hot spot, and certainly in recent years.
I've learnt today that the collective noun for a room full of millionaires is a wad. Well, this room is worth nearly £100 million. But this is the 20th anniversary of the lottery, and every week £33 million goes to good causes.
Tonight's estimated jackpot is just over £2 million. Anyone feeling lucky? Jane Hesketh, ITV News.
Oh, to be part of a wad.
Yes, quite. What a great phrase. Great description of a room full of millionaires. Go on, what do you think money would buy? I mean, serious money. We're talking big cash.
Everything. Yeah. Well, they say it doesn't buy you happiness, does it? But I think it makes your life easier.
Yes, I think the biggest thing when it comes down to it is that it takes a lot of stress away. The pressure of paying that bill, and you know, everybody has a bit of job uncertainty at times. You don't need to worry about any of those things anymore, and then you can just enjoy the good things.
So this is why we live in hope, and we keep trying, don't we? I think we should give you some stats actually about the lottery, because incredible though it is that it's been created 20 years ago, do you know there have been 3,600 millionaires?
With that many, how did we not manage to be one of them?
Very bad luck, I think, and obviously we didn't try hard enough. And £32 billion have been raised for good causes, which is the good thing I like. That's nice.
Absolutely, yeah, that's good. 430,000 projects have received funding as part of those good causes. And of course, art had a big boost, didn't it? You know, before the lottery, there was a whole lot less investment in that, and sport as well. We see a lot of things with sport funding, don't we? So I suppose it's been pretty good. The only downside is it usually costs us a couple of quid each week and we don't win anything.
Yeah, well, you know, optimism, that's all. Anyway, good luck if you play tonight. Now, today, it may surprise you that snow has been forecast in parts of the Midlands. Not only that, but giant balloons, cobwebs and clowns.
Don't worry though, Lucy Kite can hopefully explain it all.
Come to this show and I guarantee it will be the most extraordinary 90 minutes of your life. 5 million people have seen it, and well, I think I'll let the producer tell us more because it's very hard to put it into words. Matthew Gale, what is it all about?
Well, it's about really being in touch with your childhood. Members of the audience from 8 to 88 feel like a toddler again.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that now. It's audience participation.
Yeah, there's a lot of
max,
interaction with the audience. There's a snowstorm that covers them in snow. There's a cobweb that goes over them. And of course the green clowns, well, some of which are around us now, go into the audience.
There's lots of weather in this show, isn't there?
There is, a lot of snow.
Now in a moment we'll get the weather forecast, but if you thought it was a little bit grotty outside, you ain't seen nothing yet. Let's get the weather forecast.
Wishing you a warm winter. Gas central heating from Northern Gas Heating sponsors the ITV local weather.
Well, no snow in the forecast, but plenty of rain. It's rolling in from the Atlantic. I'll show you that in a second. But first, a beautiful picture taken in a stunning part of Birmingham in Brindley Place. Thank you to Nick Dawkins for sending us that one. So then, let's have a look at that radar. We can see the rain rolling in from the west. It's really band after band of rain as we head through the rest of this week. So more rain tomorrow afternoon, then on Friday. The weekend, though, to give you a bit of a heads up, is looking a little bit drier, but it will still be quite cloudy and cool. So back to this evening and overnight. Any showers from today will just ease. We're in for a dry night. Cloudy skies across the Midlands, so temperatures not dropping too low, but it won't be quite as mild as it has been. So that's how we start the day tomorrow. Grey, cloudy skies, not much in the way of brightness, but it should be dry first thing, but it won't last for long. After lunchtime, we'll start to see that band of rain making some headway into our region, and it will make its way in an easterly direction, weakening as it travels east, and so turning a little bit patchier. Highs of around 11 or 12 degrees Celsius. And here's your outlook, like I mentioned, looking a little bit drier for the weekend. Have a nice evening.
Gas central heating from Northern Gas Heating sponsors the ITV local weather.
And just before we go, let's give you a reminder of tonight's top stories on ITV News Central. A mother who fled from Syria after her husband was murdered is pleading with the British government to reunite her with her children. She's now safe in Stoke-on-Trent with her daughter and is being supported by a refugee group run by a local church. 4 of her children are stranded more than 1,500 miles away in Bulgaria.
Police in Coventry investigating reports of child sex exploitation have made 2 arrests and say more will follow. The men were detained following early morning raids by a team from the force's recently expanded Public Protection Unit.
And national lottery winners from across the Midlands have been toasting the 20th anniversary of the launch of the lottery. It was the first ever get-together of winners with a combined worth of £100 million.
And of course, the first thing I do if I win the lottery tonight is buy you a bunch of flowers.
So nice, isn't it?
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.